Our top story this Newsday, and Julia Gillard has opened up for the first time on Labor's decision to dump her before the election, saying it sent a cynical and shallow message about the party's sense of purpose. In a wide-ranging opinion piece, the former Prime Minister also called on the ALP to dump its new rules for selecting and changing leaders. Let's bring in Sky News political reporter David Lipson. And David, the PM's article in The Guardian is quite unguarded, you'd have to say.
Good morning, Vanessa. Indeed, it's an extraordinary article from Julia Gillard, brutally honest and written online. As you mentioned, The Guardian online. Julia Gillard says that she chose to spend election night last weekend on her own as the results started rolling in, and writes, losing power is felt physically, emotionally, in waves of sensation, in moments of acute distress. She also gives her understanding of what went wrong for the ALP. Foremost, the decision by the party to switch back to Kevin Rudd in the weeks before the election campaign. She says that Labor comes to opposition having sent the Australian community a very cynical and shallow message about its sense of purpose, and also that Labor unambiguously sent a very clear message that it cared about nothing other than the prospects of survival of its members of Parliament at the polls. She also rused an election campaign with, quote, not one truly original idea to substitute as the lifeblood of the campaign. At times, she's very complimentary to Kevin Rudd, for example, on his policies for asylum seekers and also his decision to stick with Labor's policy of trying to block Tony Abbott on repealing the carbon tax. And she says that's something that the party should continue to stick to its guns on. But she was also pretty scathing towards Kevin Rudd at times as well, describing as a bizarre flirtation his talk of economic nationalism, and describing as poor policies his plans for differential tax rates for the top end, and also the plan to move naval assets north. She says those are policies that must be dumped. She also talks about the Labor Party's internal reforms that Kevin Rudd introduced just a few weeks before the campaign as well. And she says that even though the new policy, which makes it harder for Labor to change leaders, would have actually saved her prime ministership, she believes they must be dumped. She says, quote, I argue against them because they are a clumsy attempt to hold power. They are not rules about leadership for purpose. Now, those rules are largely in full swing already. Over the next 30 days, we are going to see a quasi-election campaign on the Labor side, with Bill Shorten and Anthony Albanese crisscrossing the country, battling it out to try to convince Labor's rank and file that they should be elected as the party's leader for the next 3 years.